The first time I heard this story, I was shocked. I was around the age of 8 or 9, and this story, or better say, Eastern myth, remained in my mind for a long time, even though I couldn't quite understand its symbolic language. This was the story of a man whose wife died very suddenly. The man became so desperate and he wanted his wife to be back to life. So he begged the god of death to return his wife. The god of death agreed only if the man did not look back at his wife when they were leaving the land of death. The man agreed, but then he couldn't resist the temptation, and as soon as he looked back, he turned to a stone and his wife was sent back to the land of death. Years later, I got to understand this story, the importance of not looking back, the importance of not living in the past, not staying in the past. And when I say past, I mean your whole history, your life events, your friends, your family, your habitual mental and emotional patterns. Many of us want change. We want a better life for ourselves, but we are unwilling to let go of the past and we still hang on to the past. That attachment to the past kind of turns us to stones, like in that story. And what is a stone symbol of? What comes to my mind is stagnation, something that doesn't move, something that doesn't change. When we get so attached to our past, we cannot change anything. We become stones and we cannot let the new in. But why do we do that? Why we hang on to the past? Most of the time we hang on to the past because it has some sort of payoff for us. It kind of benefits us. And in order to let go of that attachment to our past, we need to really be brutally honest with ourselves. So you need to sit down with yourself and ask yourself, what is it that you get out of hanging on to your past, to that person, to that relationship, to that circumstance, or to that pattern? What is it that you really lose if you let go of that? And then it gets harder when you want to find those habitual patterns, because it's not that easy to see the payoff that it has for you. So you need to look more closely when you are looking at those patterns. You may say all of it is hard. I know growth is usually messy and uncomfortable, but how badly you want to improve your life, how badly you want to improve yourself. Not the self that is your true essence. That self is already perfect. But the self that your life events and circumstances or your history created, and you thought that it was you. A self that is limited and stuck. When we want change, life usually nudges us toward that change by losing someone or losing something, or by giving us some sort of evidence or sign that it is time to let go of something or someone, or some circumstance, a person, or whatever. But how do we respond to those events or to those signs? Do we just ignore them and continue asking for change or struggling to make changes? Or do we really pay attention to those signs and act accordingly? When you see your work environment is making you bitter and sick, what do you do? I'm not talking about just taking some sort of action to change that situation. I'm talking about your inner response. How do you respond? When you see signs of your partner cheating on you, what do you do? Do you just ignore and pretend that nothing happened? Maybe that is universe telling you that you deserve better than that. Maybe it is universe telling you to let go of that unworthy self and accept your worthiness. When you see your friends are making all sorts of excuses to be out of reach when you need them, isn't that the universe sending you the signs that it is time to let go of that relationships and accept love and respect in your life? Life or the universe is constantly sending us all sorts of evidence or signs to show us that it is time to let go of a person, a relationship, a circumstance, or a pattern. but how do we respond? Are we ready for that change? Are we willing to let go of that past? We really need not to fool ourselves and pretend that we didn't see those signs or those evidence. For me, letting go of relationships, family, and friends is super hard. But what is harder than that is letting go of patterns, because sometimes I'm blind to them. I can't see those patterns and the payoff that they may have for me. Like the time when I did everything to not to be seen, to be kind of invisible. And I thought this was part of my personality. I just didn't like to be seen. But then when it helped me back in life, I had to look more closely, and I realized that when I was younger, I spent a lot of time in my room. And the reason was that as soon as I was out, I received some sorts of criticism. So, in order not to be criticized, I decided not to be seen anymore. When I looked at that pattern, I saw the payoff. The payoff was it helped me to not to face my fears and to kind of feel safe, but at the same time, it had limited me. So as long as we are in those, we have those patterns and we haven't let them go, we are kind of stuck, like that stones that we talked about in that story. Nothing really moves in our life, nothing really changes. But when we find out about those patterns, and we may need some help in that process, help of a mentor or a coach to help us see those patterns and the payoff that they may have for us. And then when we see them, we are able to let them go, because now we are aware of the payoff that they have for us. And when we let them go, things start to move, to change in our life. We are not stuck in the past anymore. And those patterns are not going, they lose their power over us, and they are not going to shape our future. But if we are not able to let them go, our future is going to look exactly like our past. But remember that letting go of those patterns doesn't happen overnight, because all these patterns have a strong momentum behind them, because you have practiced them for a long time unconsciously. The first time these patterns were shaped by probably an event in your life, in your childhood. And then as soon as you experience similar experiences, you thought the same way that you thought before, and you felt the same way that you felt before. And the more often you thought those thoughts and you felt the same emotions and you acted based on those emotions, the stronger those patterns got. And you were doing this over time without knowing that you were doing it, so it happened completely unconsciously. But now these patterns are formed and they have momentum. So you need to spend some time, just every time that you observe them, just observe them. You don't need to do anything else. And the more you are aware of them and observe them, the weaker they become and they lose their power over you. The quality that has been helping me through this process is honesty. And I think it will be the same for you. When you admit to yourself that that family relationship is not serving your higher purpose, or that circumstance has limited you, or you have grown out of that partnership, then you have taken a very important step, the most uncomfortable step. After that, you just need to sit down and really think about what is it that you really want in life. And sometimes there are things in your life that have helped you be comfortable, but they are not what you really want, and they have kind of limited you. Or sometimes you think that you want something, but it is just to run away from other things, and that is not what you want either. Sometimes there are things that you think you want, but it's actually what society or your family want for you, not you. So again, that's not what you want. So you need to spend some time, just sit down and explore what things you want really in life. When you think about what you want in life, don't make it too complicated. Keep it as simple as possible and take baby steps. For example, start from your room. Is your room the way that you want it to be? Does it look like the way you want it to be? Do you feel the way that you want when you are in your room? And if the answer is no, then you need to find out, how do you want your room to look like? How do you want to feel when you are in your room? And when you start going through this process, you are doing it internally, but you start getting some ideas how to improve your room. And you may even get some, for example, items from a friend that they don't need it anymore, and it's going to look perfect in your room. So as you start going through this process internally, you gradually allow changes to happen. You allow the new to come into your life. So taking these baby steps are really important, because they are sending the message that you are ready to let go of the old. And we always have to be ready to let go of some things or someone in our lives, because that's the flow of life. And sometimes we think that we have let go of something or someone. We may still need to let go of other layers of the same pattern, the same thing. But let's start today. I would love to hear from you. Until next time.